that's an illusion, the part that gives us the sense that we're somehow outside of the physical world. And people will often say, actually, well, if I don't have free will, then I just won't do anything. And it kind of feeds into that nihilistic, there's this resolution to the nihilistic framing of it, because you cannot do nothing. It's a river that keeps flowing. And that's because your brain is a set of processes that are ongoing, that are generating conscious experiences in every moment. You can't help but hear the next sound that happens in the room. And so even just doing nothing is extraordinarily, not just extraordinarily difficult, it is impossible. And so as long as we're alive, the brain keeps doing its thing. It's like the waves in the ocean, they'll just keep going. And so, you'll be lying in bed, or you'll be thinking a thought, or you'll be hearing the next sound. But whatever it is, you'll be doing something. It's not going to stop. And I think that helps people kind of see the wave-like or river-like nature to it as more of a process rather than a static thing. Yeah.
It really feels like there's a possible surrendering to the flow of what is the dynamic, natural process of our life and our own individual journey, but then also within our family and society and culture, and how we can serve our own unique purpose of how consciousness is expressing itself through us in its unique way, which it does with everyone. And I think there's the voice in the back of the room that would say, like, why does it matter if free will is an illusion or not? Like, I'm still having this real experience where I pay my bills, and
yes.
It is in some aspects, some people would say like a privileged thought experiment. But at the same time, I just think what you just shared about life being dynamic and this reflection on the illusoriness of decision-making and free will, it doesn't put us outside of reality. It can actually allow us to sit more squarely within it.
Yes. And actually, I'm glad you said that. That reminds me of one other thing that I think is helpful for people. I talk about it as levels of usefulness. And so there are illusions that, even something as simple as the flat earth illusion, we've all learned that the earth is a sphere, but we don't have an intuitive felt sense of it. We treat the world for the most part as if it's flat. If you were constantly reminding yourself, I walked out of this room, I was like, well, don't forget you're on a sphere. It's a total waste of time. It's distracting. It'll get in the way of all the things you need to do. It is not something that's useful to keep in mind in most moments. And I think the illusion of self and free will are just like that, where you can drive yourself crazy trying to keep it in mind all the time, and it will be a huge distraction. It'll prevent you from making all the decisions that you could do a better job of making if you weren't keeping this illusion in mind. But similarly to the Earth being a sphere, if you're a pilot, if you're engineering a rocket, this is something that's very useful to know. We need to know the truth of our situation. And even in moments of reflection or of spiritual reflection, when we want to kind of experience the bigger picture, these illusions, most of them are useful to bring to mind. So the one of realizing that the earth is a sphere is actually one I've used throughout my life, that I talk about in the book, as being helpful for connecting me to the larger picture. So it's useful psychologically, it's useful for engineering and for understanding the world we live in. But in our everyday lives, it is not something you have to keep in mind, and would be problematic, I think, if you attempted to. And I think the same is true for free will and self. Yeah. Don't drive yourself crazy.